Warriors, we are so fortunate today to have my dear friend and colleague, Vanessa Simon, join us right here to discuss so many important things, not only happening in New York, where we are both based, but also across our country. We'll be touching on a lot of different subjects. I am going to let Vanessa explain who she is, why she is, all of that great stuff. Because you know what? I've come to the conclusion that I can read bios and things like that, but I want to hear the story out of the person themselves. But I guarantee, and I'm urging all of you, you must follow Vanessa Simon right now. I mean, after we're done chatting, go to Instagram at Vanessa, the number 4, at Vanessa for New York. Also on it's NYC, correct? No, it's
Just
NY.
just
See,
NY.
I'm already making a mistake because I'm so excited. I can't get the words out fast enough. It's Vanessa number 4, NY, New York, everybody. Instagram, also on Twitter. But we're going to get into all of that. So first, let's hear from Vanessa. Welcome, Vanessa Simon, to the Warriors.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. 2024, we were just discussing a little pre-show. We are going to go full force into 2024. But before we do that, Vanessa, I want you to describe who is Vanessa Simon. Where did you come from, and why are you such a passionate warrior? Because you truly are the definition of a warrior.
Lynn, first and foremost, thanks for having me. I was actually looking forward to joining you and fellow warriors out there today. I know we'll have a lot of productive conversation and dialogue that is just about being an agent of change in our communities and what we can do better. In short, who's Vanessa Simon? I am a child of immigrants. I'm first generation American. My family's from Haiti. And I think that's kind of what fuels me and kind of puts like the spirit in me to really do better for myself and generations to come. My parents and my grandparents came over through the correct process, which I talk about often, to allot me a better life. I couldn't imagine, life in Haiti right now in 2023, although I do still have family over there. It's very difficult, but I'm very grateful to be here in New York. So I was born in Florida, but I came up when I was the age of 5, and I've been in New York ever since. So I'm as New York as they come, but I kind of leave that little Florida piece out of it.
Yeah, you leave that, and you know what? Remarkably, you have no kind of New York accent. Vanessa, people say to me, "I have a New York accent." I don't think so, but one never thinks they have any kind of accent at all. And by the way, I was born in New Jersey. If anything, I have a New Jersey accent. Okay. But anyway, thank you for describing yourself. What an important story, Vanessa, right now with everything going on in our country. With, look, whether you want to say immigration, illegal aliens, we got it all going on here in New York. We'll get into that a little bit. But you describe yourself, which I really like. A description for you is um, a millennial. Okay,
Yes.
we got to get into that. And you want to change things. I want to know what makes you so passionate, other than you just described, your parents coming here and Haiti and working hard and all of that. Now, I obviously know you, but we have such a lack of involvement. And that's not only from millennials, though, that's from people my age. I mean, I'm old enough to be your mother. Actually, maybe your grandmother. I'm not sure. I would have been a young grandmother, but and we got to laugh once in a while because everything's so, but
Lynn, don't let this space fool you. They say black don't crack, but I'm not that young. I promise.
now that's what I love about you, because we can laugh about in the middle of all these important topics we're covering. But you're so passionate, which is the warrior attitude, which I love, which you try to instill in others, which I certainly try to instill in others. What drives you every moment of the day? Because believe you me, I know it's like we wake up every day, we're getting hit over the head with a hammer, right? We're in the middle of New York City, where things are exploding, in my opinion, in addition to the country. What is that drive behind you?
Honestly, it really does come from family. That's just part of my core: faith, family, community. And it is the faith through God. Like I recognized at a very young age that I looked at the world through a different lens, and I did feel that responsibility, that it is incumbent upon me that if I understand and I know better, I must do better and inspire and tap on those around me. So like that kind of came like probably early 20s when I came out of high school and I was in college and undergrad, and I was just looking at the world differently. And I just conversation with friends were different from the conversations that I was having myself in my head. And I was just like, all right, if I could figure out and learn a little bit more, I don't mind sharing my information and trying to inspire those around me. So that really came from a space of, having that spirit from God. And then my mom, who used to be a journalist in Haiti, was always really passionate about politics. So at a very, very young age, like in high school, she would just constantly drop information on me, and that's how I became politically engaged. So between the two, that's what fuels me.
Geez, I thought you were going to say, because I'm a Capricorn. No, just teasing. Because we're both Capricorns. I'll just
I'm
share
gonna
that. And
save
so
the Capricorn
we
sign.
say that a lot, like that's the Capricorn way. Oh, we're
It
Capricorns.
really
Okay,
is.
I'll
I was
let that
born.
one go. You're Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. Our time is here. It's right now almost.
We're in Capricorn season.
We are in Capricorn season, and now I want to get into.
Mhm.
Look, I am very I don't like the word angry, Vanessa, but I actually have a little anger these days. Whether
Fired up, if you may.
Okay, fired up. That's a better word. You're always so diplomatic. Fired up.
Mhm.
Look, we've got the Democratic Party, we've got the Republican Party. I am very fired up about this Republican Party right now. This is my opinion, and I want to hear your thoughts.
Mhm.
Not doing enough, not coming together, not stepping up. It seems to me nobody is really doing anything, which is why your organization, which we'll talk about, Gotham Rising, we have
Absolutely.
to. And the Warriors also, I always talk about it starts in the home, it starts in the community. We have to start grassroots. That is where the power is. What are your feelings right now with the Republicans? Because look, we've got these open borders. I know I'm throwing a lot at you and everybody's screaming, but like nobody's doing anything. What's going on right now with the Republican Party? I'm disappointed in them.
Okay, that's a loaded question with some
It
layers,
is.
so bear with me. I'm gonna try to address it. One, I am a registered Republican since I was 18. I was raised in a conservative household, right? One of the posts that I actually have pinned on my Instagram account, Vanessa4NY, is just discussing that. Like, I've been a registered Republican since 18, came up on conservative values, and the party doesn't resemble anything that it looked like that of like integrity, honor, and I think we're in a space where we're just trying to find our identity, especially post Trump. No matter how you feel about President Trump, that's where I feel like the dichotomy came and there was kind of that fracture in the party. And I think from an identity standpoint, we're caught in a space where people are either trying to be the next Trump or try to be the antithesis of it, but like there's no authenticity, right?
Mm.
So, and I think that is the key. To your point, I'm calling on the leaders to lead out there and stay authentically true to themselves. We can always feel it's an energy, right? People feel when you're being legit with them. And I think that is the space, that's what's missing from politics, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And the closest thing, good, bad, or indifferent, that I give President Trump, credit for is the fact that he showed up as himself, whether people thought that was fake or what have you. He was able to break things down in a way that was digestible to people, made him relatable. And those are the qualities that they identified with. And those are the qualities that are missing right now, Lynn. He came in, shook up the political world, and people are scrambling to either replicate what he did or trying to be the next him. And on both sides of the aisle, we lost deference. There's no more respect. Like, people are name calling. And it's like, if that's who you are, then okay, great. But there's a lot that I've never seen prior to President Trump. So that leaves me as like your normal voter that's like, hey, will the real person please stand up? Because we need more leaders. So that's where we're
Yeah.
at right now. The party's divided. To answer your question about
Mm,
Republicans, the party's
right.
divided. And we need leaders that'll come in with a clear voice that'll cut through the noise right now. That's what I'm looking for.
I have to say, I'll use this word, admire. I admire the Democrats because to me, they seem to really stick together. They're like so brazen. They'll just, they'll just say something or put out information, and nobody ever. They just stick together. And so I would always say, well, why don't Republicans just copy their playbook? It's very easy. Like, just do it on the other side because, on the Republican side, there's a lot of truths and facts. I mean, I'm always the first one to point out under President Trump, I don't care. You love him, you hate him, whatever people think of him. During his administration, he spent more monies on human trafficking and gave these monies for research and to different organizations, groups that never received funding before, for additional law enforcement, additional tracking of children in particular, never was given credit for that. So anytime I can share that and say that is really something. And of course, none of that's happening today with what's going on. But I
Mm,
have to ask you, Vanessa. So now you have started fairly recently Gotham Rising.
yes.
Explain what Gotham Rising is, the mission, what you want people to learn from this. We need to engage. I'm still
Absolutely.
trying to engage everybody, Vanessa. I know everybody is beaten up because they tell me this on a daily basis. It's the most important time. I told you this probably 3 times already before we started chatting, like, of our lifetime right now, my lifetime at least, this election coming up, the state of our country, the state of
Mhm.
New York, right? Gotham
Absolutely.
Rising. Why? How? Explain the whole thing to us.
Absolutely. So I ran for city council right here in Southeast Queens, District 31 in 2021. And although I did lose, my little engine that could did get some attention. I was elected to state secretary of the New York GOP. And in that same year, myself and two other Republican women came together after losing our races and were like, you know what? When we threw our hats in the ring, there was really no training that went behind it. So just to backtrack a little bit, as a profession, I am an HR professional, and I like to say political operative by passion. So HR training, development, like that's all in me. So for us to come together and come to the table and decide to start Gotham Rising, although the two other women have gone on to do other opportunities and take on other opportunities, I wanted to stay with Gotham Rising because I do feel and find that whether you're someone interested in running for office or you're someone in the community that's like, I want to get involved and I don't know how, that is the purpose of Gotham Rising. We provide a roadmap, we provide training, we have speakers from Washington, D.C., we have elected officials come speak and kind of share their stories, along with providing a roadmap and a blueprint for people to know how to get involved politically and mostly on a local level. I really stress the importance of local when we're talking Republicans versus Democrats. Democrats have decades, they're decades ahead of us when we're talking about organization, grassroots, community organization. Like it's really critical and we've got a lot of work to do. So although we are a C4 open to both sides of the aisle, I do focus on conservative candidates and those that are interested in the conservative movement. So that's pretty much what Gotham Rising's about. We've had pretty successful events, and like I said, the our guest speakers range and our themes and topic range. So it could be anywhere from campaign strategy to more recently we had Get Out the Vote right in October, where we're sharing all tips and tricks of not only how campaigns strategize those last 5 weeks leading up to election, but also having those that are interested in volunteering. So we had people in the crowd that weren't running for office, but they were like, hey, how do I support this person that's running for office that I want to really put some power and energy behind? And what's the most effective way? So bringing members of the community together to discuss that.
It's so excellent and much needed. And I will have all the information in the body of this video for everybody to look and read more about, join, volunteer, donate, of course, to Gotham Rising. Now, let me ask you something. Recently, we had all 51 city council seats
Yes.
kind of up for grabs. And granted, we're in New York State, New York City, whatever, very democratic. Actually, but I go back. I remember when we had a Republican governor, or two.
Yes.
Um, what happened there? What would your assessment be? Lay the landscape for us.
So
I thought
I
it would turn out a little more positively, but tell us what happened.
likewise. So a little bit of my passion project last year, in addition to having Gotham Rising be a supporting like vessel, I did have one of our interns at Gotham Rising do research on favorable districts. So you hit the nail on the head. Of the 5 boroughs, there are 51 city council seats. Now, for those not familiar, city council not only controls the budget per district, but writes the legislation. A lot of power. So if you're talking about either funding police or education, getting money to your schools, school choice, all that it lies within the power of the city council. So currently, or prior, excuse me, prior to November's election, we had 5 out of 51 Republicans. And then at the beginning of 23, we had someone switch seats from Democrat to Republican. So that made it a 6 seat. We ended up losing that seat, but we gained Bronx. So shout out to Christy Maramato, who flipped Bronx for the first time. So long story short, we ended up breaking even with 6 out of 51 seats in November. But the intern that I had done had done the research. We had 7 additional districts. Like we could have won and flipped a few more seats. So Lynn, there's work to be done in our state. To your point, Republicans coming together and understanding like the long game, because those seats that were favorable, all the stats and statistics coming off of races, even including Lee Zeldin's gubernatorial race, were really trending in our favor. Now, imagine if we collectively got together and had a strong game plan and strategy around outreach, whether it was digital, whether it was grassroots, and really focused on those 7 additional seats. Who knows where we would be? But we ended up gaining one and losing one and just breaking even. So we're at 6 of 51. So there's a lot of work to be done. City council races are up again in 2 years. But for 24, guys, I want you to tune into assembly and congressional races and more to come around that. So
I'm glad, Vanessa, you pointed that out. People don't realize. Actually, I learned this through you and Gotham Rising, and
well, you
talking to some of the candidates, the power of the city council, right?
power.
We always think of, mayor, governor, federal level, but I really learned it is in the community, it is in the council, and doing the work we do with exploitation and trafficking, and also with the drugs. There's a lot there. I'm now connecting with a lot of council members with different legislation, and just want to have discussions about these issues. Let me
Also,
get your yeah, go ahead.
if I could just tap in one more time,
Sure.
it's just everything from the speed light cameras to congestion pricing, like everything that's making New York feel insufferable, it's at the power of city council. So and so many
Yeah.
people don't recognize that. They're blaming just the mayor. Meanwhile, he's the one that has like the final say. But the reality is, if you're electing someone in office that really aligns with what your beliefs are and what is important and true to you, they are the ones representing you at that city council level. And they're the ones that are running New York City, all 5 boroughs. So anything that you're feeling, it's like, hey, I really encourage people to tune in more when it comes to city council races, that especially if you're have family or live in the 5 boroughs.
And thank you, Vanessa, for mentioning the thorn in my side called congestion
Yeah.
tax that I forgot about for a few hours.
Well,
That
you'll remember in a few days when it's official.
No, but it's like still people don't have like a thorough explanation of what's actually really happening, believe it or not, with all of that. People who live here, they just don't
Yeah.
really grasp that whole thing. Remains to be seen. Let me ask you something. As a woman, as a New Yorker, a lot of the
Yes.
city council members are promoting the legalization of prostitution. Now, the work we do at the Warriors, a large part of it is working with prostitutes, current, out of prostitution. We see this especially in areas like Brooklyn, in areas Queens, very vulnerable
Yes.
communities. Now we've got this whole. I call them illegal aliens because I am sorry you when your family your family do everything. I work with a lot of immigration attorneys, and we talk. People take years and they study and do everything correctly to become an American citizen, and even somebody, an immigration attorney, was just telling me over Thanksgiving, people had to learn how to how to make a turkey, and like it's an American tradition and things like that coming from other countries. And now all of a sudden we have this big mishmash. We have more pro legalization, which really means pro pimps, legalizing pimping, legalizing trafficking, legalizing brothels, legalizing those illicit spas, legalizing sex buying. That's what it means, not legalizing prostitution, because people are like, oh, that's okay, their body, their choice. I always am quick to say it really means legalizing pimping. We know the demand is younger and younger for children. Why do you think they would push? We've got now all these women and girls, especially boys and men too, coming from all these other countries. I'm told from my sources, especially in like Flushing, Queens, that whole area, Roosevelt Avenue, the numbers of women have increased in the last few months, day and night, walking around the sidewalks in front of families. Why would they push this? You know, this is not helping anybody at all. Why would they want this?
I really feel like we have a crisis on our hands right now, and I think that back to the point that we were kind of discussing earlier about leaders needing to lead right now. That's the space that's needed. I mean, I wish I had an answer for you, Lynn. I think everyone's just scrambling right now. No one is really approaching this crisis through a solutions driven lens. That is our biggest issue right now. And I don't really frankly understand why the mayor hasn't stepped up and like stopped asking Washington for help and just putting these migrants back on buses and shipping them right back out, because it isn't and should not fall on taxpayers here in New York to pick up and clean up this mess. $12 billion being invested, it's too much. It's astronomical. I think we're already bearing the burden that feels almost insufferable to a point. And believe it or not, we've had more people flee the state of New York and move out than those that showed up at the polls last year. And that's everything you need to know. And just exposing how much of a crisis we're in right now. So no one has a solution. I think it's getting far too obtuse for those to wrap their minds and arms around. And to your point, like it's just a sign of if we don't try to stop it, it will spin out of control more than ever. Whether it's the prostitution, whether it's just the crime, right? In addition to that, it's like also having the taxpayers just feel like they're at their breaking point. But to your point, what is going to be that catalyst to get them to tune in and give a darn about like what's happening in the bubble that we're in, right? It's like
Right.
everyone can complain like, "Oh my god, crime. Oh my god, the prices. Oh, New York is so hard to live in." But no one's recognizing the direct correlations that are like impacting us. And I think that's where you and I have to continue to be warriors, continue to be patient and break things down to try to bring people along, because when things are just way too broad stroke and addressed in a broad stroke manner, excuse me, I think that's where we tend to lose people because it's not succinct and direct enough.
Hmm. Okay, so many people would say to me, certainly during the COVID period, fast forward, "Oh, you're stupid, Lynn. Why do you stay in New York? Like, why don't you leave?" Because
Someone's
I
got to
re
stay and fight, Lynn. Come on, us Capricorns, we're masochists.
well, that's exactly what I said. I'm like, "Somebody has to stay here and fight for
Yeah,
our beloved city."
right.
And I actually really feel like that,
I do
you
too.
know?
God
Um,
bless them.
I and I know you feel the same way, like, we can't just all flee. And as
Yeah.
I always point out, Vanessa, what we're seeing here is spreading out across our country. You may not see it in a more rural town or city,
Yeah.
across the country, but eventually, because I already know of a lot of these people who've come here on these buses. They can't. They're left already. I have to share with you the most disturbing thing. Now, usually I'm pretty warrior tough, okay,
Mm.
and I stay on this side to do the work and push out all the bad stuff, okay, which is children and all the exploitation and border and this. So I decided, Vanessa, I needed one last. I got it set in my head. I had to get my husband this something. It got in my head, and I didn't get it for him for Christmas. And I'm like, I have to run out Christmas Eve morning, okay, and I have to go to the nearest bookstore. Now we don't have any bookstores around me anymore, so I have to go to my nearest Barnes and Noble on 5th and 46th Street. Okay, takes me just a couple of minutes to walk there.
Mhm.
This is 10 o'clock, December 24th, Christmas Eve. So I decide, okay, let me avoid 5th because of the Christmas tree and Rockefeller Center and all of that going on. I'll just walk, down 6th. So I walked from 53rd down to 46th. on 6th Avenue, which had also occurred to me, Vanessa, they used to refer to it a lot as like Avenue of the Americas. And like
Yes.
nobody says that anymore. I don't it just occurred to me like nobody calls it Avenue of the Americas. Growing up as teens, we would call it like Avenue of the Americas and stuff. Now it's
Mhm.
6th Avenue. Okay, that's another story. I digress. Here's what I have to share that is so horrifying and I think about.
Mm.
From 53rd to 46th along 6th Avenue, both sides of the street, Radio City is there, everybody. You've got the Fox News studios, you've got banking institutions, these big buildings, you've got, publishers. Every inch, I do not exaggerate, was covered with vendors selling the fake, pocketbooks, belts, bags, hats, gloves, but also women sitting on blankets on the dirty sidewalks. And I mean dirty because New York, 6th Avenue used to be pristine, very clean, always kept very nice. Dirt in the gutters, garbage, litter.
Mm.
Sitting on blankets, I can hardly say it, holding up babies, saying in Spanish, help me, or saying I'm hungry, or kind of like broken English, money. I've never seen that in my life. Sitting on blankets on the dirty. Some of them look to be like older teen girls, and some, are just young women holding up babies in the air, help me, and holding out the child. And I thought to myself, it's so disturbing to me, Vanessa. So, we open up, come here, we'll feed you, clothe you, no matter what you think of all this illegal immigration or whatever. And these people now are just dumped, women and girls sitting on the streets holding up babies.
Mm.
Where 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 is this going? This is not sustainable. This
It's not.
is, we cut out I talk about the dirty streets, but that's because we cut our sanitation department to cover the $12 billion, which is
Mhm.
probably $20 billion. We never have the real things escalate,
Yep.
monies. We don't know. We cut sanitation department to pay for this. We cut fire department. They just announced they're cutting 20% of that. Police, we know what's going on with that.
Yes.
It's so disturbing to me as a mother, as a woman, that I see this on what is called used to be called the Avenue of the Americas. What are your thoughts on something like this?
Similar to what you were highlighting about prostitution, like it's spiraling at a pace that to what you just said is unsustainable. Lynn, we're in trouble right now. And I think that's why, one, I will always support you and applaud everything that you're doing because you don't just walk past that. Like it's our job, it's our duty to make sure that we're calling attention to it, and also trying to call attention to our elected officials to be like, this is not okay. And I think that getting on the news and just reiterating that it's a crisis, because that's what our mayor is currently doing. Oh, it's so bad, it's so terrible. But it's like, what are we actually, what are our tax dollars going to? You know? But for me, I always hold on to that glimmer of hope on the horizon where if we really can step it up and set the tone like you were saying, New York really is the trendsetter of the world. We
Mhm.
have yet to establish a model state in America, like the bar, like whether it be with immigration, education, affordable housing, you name it. Like we don't have a state where we're looking at and we're like, hey, you know what? That state has their crap together. Like that. However, if we're able to do that here in New York, it'll not only catch here, but also globally. I'm not sure if I lost you. Are you still there? Forgive
I
me.
am here. Can you hear me? I am here.
Forgive me.
No, that's
So
okay.
having a model state. So for me, I always say whether you're in Albuquerque or as far as Albania, when people are talking about America and wanting to go to that state, it's always New York. Like no one's really, unless if you have aspirations of becoming an actress, you talk about going to California. But New
Mhm.
York, we are the prize jewel. We are the crown jewel of the world. So it's like that's the hope that I hold on to, Lynn, where I'm like, if we could just get this right, it could really expand and set the tone for where we should be in this country. And I feel like that's our last saving grace in
Mhm.
America. New York, if we could just get it right, everyone is always keeping their eye on New York, what we're doing, how we're living, and I think that's important. So it's trying to use your platform, leverage your platform to educate your listeners on how to effectively um, contact their local officials. We can't just sit back idly, guys. Those days are over. If we really love and care for our state, our families, our state, and our country, we can no longer just like sit back. And I think providing the right avenues and outlets, right? Some people are just like, oh, I just got mad and wrote a letter. Well, where did you direct that letter? Did you go on Twitter and have a rant? Where does that go? I think for us that are carrying the torch, so to speak, in certain aspects, Lynn, like we really have to break down, like, okay, this is what needs to be done. This is where you send. This is where you meet. Someone's having a press conference here. We must show up. Like, we just have to help others find the way to effectively challenge what's going on.
Agreed. Amen is what I'm going to say. We have to carry what I call no, the path. We have to create the path and carry the burden because we're strong and we can, and we're passionate, and
Taking
just
breaks are
and
necessary.
handhold, and say, okay, do. And I spend at least half my time, Vanessa. I don't know about you, doing exactly that. I can't tell you. We never can forget like what you know, what I know. Most people don't know. You know what I mean? They don't. They have to hear it from us. I can't tell you the requests I got around the holidays. What should I buy my child?
Mhm.
And I was like, you buy your child a book, a hardcover book. So they have a cover, they feel the pages, they turn them beginning to end, and then you read the book also, and you have a discussion about the book. And people would say, "Oh, that's such a great idea." A book.
Like it's
So
a
I'm
novel.
I'm not I'm not being, like, judgy, I'm just saying to you, like, we have to go back to I think people are so, again, overwhelmed and kind of brainwashed and tired and exhausted, and certainly, they're trying to pay their bills and keep up, and it's holidays, but, like,
Mhm.
I have to tell people to buy a book? So I believe we can get them back into the fold. We do have to hold the hands. We have to get them involved. I want to finish up with you something that has become just really always, but really lately, very important. I've been doing a lot of thinking. As you get older, you are not there yet, Vanessa Simon, but you really begin to look back at your life and think about things. And as children grow up, all my kids are in their 30s, and um, and you look back, and I was at the tail end as a child on the women's movement kind of
Mhm.
thing. But I don't know. I feel I could be imagining this, but I feel as children, well, I was always kind of an old soul, but like I was like even involved in fourth, fifth grade in issues, like what that were happening, whether it was POWs, Vietnam, that kind of thing, aware of it. And now I feel like we have gone so far backwards with the women's movement. You
Yes.
know, again, I am not judging, but I am tired, Vanessa, of look at me, I'm a hot mom, rocking the bikini. Like, I have to see this online. Like, fine, go do it. Fine. This is what our girls are seeing. This is what other women are seeing. We're stronger and better than that. And I had somebody say to me, well, you're judging. No, I'm not judging, but we've come a long way since I'm talking about the women's movement. We're still fighting for equal pay.
Yes.
I just realized about 2 years ago, Vanessa, it's still a man's world. I woke up and said, it I did. I said, "It's still a man's world. We don't have equal pay." And so, like, I wanna talk about those issues. I wanna talk about, like, getting on track about what's really important. Give us some thoughts. What do you think? What's going on with, I don't know, teen girls, young women in general, about all of these things I just threw at you?
Yes, I actually have two-part answer. First, I'll address what we're talking about regarding women, and then I'm going to end on like the millennial point. But both are under the umbrella of it being a call to action. You hit the nail on the head. It's now more than ever that women are needed in the world, period. Whether it's to stand up for our rights, because I do feel like it's slowly slipping away. What you're highlighting is truly what's eating at the fibers of what has come off of the giants of shoulders before us. Women that have really tried to start and were catalysts to the initiative. And I almost feel like we're failing them by not carrying on
Yes.
in productive ways, right? We got the spotlight, and to your point, we're trying to like do bikinis and twerking, and it's like, what women? What are we doing? Like,
Right.
not saying that you can't have fun, because as a Capricorn, we like to work hard, play hard,
Oh, we
but
have our fun.
yes, but we also stay true to what the cause is. So to your point, it really is a call to action now more than ever in history, right now. even what's going on, and it kills me that we're back in the space of begging for peace in the Middle East, right? But it's like women are needed for even for peace right now. And it's like I don't see us present in several conversations. And it's like this is where it's like we must continue to tap on our fellow women, neighbors, relatives, where continue to have that battle cry, Lynn, where you're like, we can't just sit back and do nothing. We cannot just sit back and remain idle. We cannot just sit back and only indulge in the fun stuff. Our future needs it right now. So to answer your question, it is now time for call for action and incumbent on those that really do have that fighter warrior spirit within them to try to find ways, several different ways. It doesn't have to be so fired up like we used before. It could be more diplomatic for those that are, a little bit more, sensitive to any passion. But either way, just finding and being nimble and trying to, what I like to call style flex, to try to tap on as many audiences as possible to get them to understand that women are needed now more than ever. So that's one. And then I'll end on the point with millennials. So millennials for me are the last bridge generation, because Gen Z is right behind us and they are fired up to the point where I don't think they fully understand the scope of why they're fired up. So without direction and or cause, it can be almost detrimental. Millennials are that generation that I like to say we need the guidance and the wisdom of key stakeholders that have come before us, whether it's boomers, whether it's Gen X, which is those that are in their 40s right now. But we are the last of the Mohegan that came into technology, right? In 2015, the millennials surpassed the boomers as the largest generation footprint. So there are more millennials than ever right now. And we're up next to take on the country. And I like to say that we're considered the silver crib generation. No matter your socioeconomic, I came from very humble beginnings. No matter your socioeconomic standing, millennials really didn't suffer. Like their parents worked 2, 3 jobs if they had to, but they got everything they wanted. Like a lot of us millennials now can still call our parents to bail us out, and they will. Like that's just
Yes.
it's a difference, right? Whereas generations before us, it was like they worked to set that bar and they didn't have their parents kind of coddling them to be like, oh, if it doesn't work out, you can come back home. And I think that's the last generation where it's like, because we understand and have seen that with our parents, and then we also had the opportunity to have we really have to help in shaping the course, because Gen Z behind us has gotten everything, right? And they don't really necessarily understand what it's like to come in a world without technology. And it's incumbent upon the millennials to help kind of carve that out. And that's where I really try to express, because millennials are in a space now, believe it or not, Lynn, where they are becoming the directors and VPs, and they're acquiring these roles now that are very pivotal, and they're up next to inherit the country, but their presence isn't felt as much. So there's a lot where I'm like, whether you're in education, whether you're in the judicial system, whether you care about politics, like I'm trying my best as a warrior to tap on fellow millennials to be like, a lot of this needs updating. A lot of this needs modernizing. Where are we? Let's join the conversation. We're not pushing older generations aside. We need their wisdom. We need their guidance, but it's up to us to shape and carve out the path forward. And I'll end on
That was a mouthful. But I also want to look.
that.
I I remember Casual Friday back in the 80s. I'm blaming everything on
Okay,
Casual
that's where it
Friday. No,
started.
I remember it was in the 80s at some point, like, "Oh, you don't have to dress up to come to the office. Casual Fridays." I'm gonna go back there and say,
That's where it started.
I'm blaming it all on Casual Fridays." But anyway, but I also think we have a duty, and I talk about this a lot, Vanessa. People my age, I'm turning 63 in a couple of weeks,
Oh, God bless.
and
Wait, when's your birthday, since we talked about Capricorns?
January 19.
Oh, I am January 11th.
Yeah, you're like a week. I remember you're a week ahead of me.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a disconnect between like my age group and like your age group. Like I feel like I have a duty now at this age to help women your age so that you can help, as you just explained, the Gen
Vanessa,
Zers. Like,
dear
I
lady.
see like that connection broken with it's like them and us kind of
Yeah,
thing. It's
yeah.
with my age, because I get met with a lot of like stares, like they'll be fine, they'll figure it out. We figured it out. No, I think we as women have a duty, especially I know everybody says this whenever they were born or growing up, it was the worst of times, like kind of thing. I actually think for my
We're
lifetime,
in it right now.
I think we're in it. And
We're
I
in
think,
it now.
yeah, and I think 2024, I have a lot of, I'm fired up, as you would say. I'm going to be much more engaged. I'm going to be working harder and harder. Um, I feel very positive about 2024 because I refuse to allow what I think is going to be a very upheaval,
Yes.
going into the election, going into how people are acting, kind of thing. But I'm staying on the positive side because I believe it's infectious when we're positive and it will spread out, kind of thing. Just those little, I don't know, even holding a door for somebody. I try one thing a day, smile at somebody, a stranger, hold the door, whatever. Although they usually slam it in my face, okay? Or I hold it and they don't even say thank you, but okay, because then every 20th person does say thank you. So then I feel like, okay, I did my job.
Yeah.
But I really feel there is a disconnect with older women. Uh, I feel the smartest right now. I feel the strongest right now. I feel like I need to educate other women and keep the chain going, keep us all engaged. And I
Mm.
also want to push harder on that. And that is why I wanted to share your voice and expertise going into 2024. I mean, Vanessa Simon, I say this truly, I say it to you a lot, like you're a true warrior. I don't meet a lot of true warriors. I meet some fake warriors. But anyway, I'll leave that for another program. I'm meeting it's Vanessa the number 4 New York on Twitter and Instagram. Also, I'm going to have all of your information up about the wonderful organization Gotham Rising. Finish us up. I know
Uh,
you said a lot already, but we're going into 2024. Enlighten us, empower us, uplift us, preach
yes.
to us, whatever you want to do.
Well, one, I want to uplift you and thank you for having this platform. Thank you for tapping on me as another woman to share my voice. Thank you for having a space for those to join you where you can continue to enlighten what you are. The world is in need of so much inspiration and direction that I never want you to, yes, you must take breaks, but I never want you to quit. And if you ever feel like quitting, you call me and I'll wind that battery up on your back again. So, to what you shared, please continue to lead by example, show other women that are your age how important it is to reach out to people like me because you have set the tone, Lynn. Everything that you've done has inspired, and I aspire to hopefully have the voice that you have and just reaching and encouraging and motivating others. So I just sincerely thank you. I look forward to the work ahead in 24, and I'll be right there with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Vanessa Simon, thanks for making me tear up.
Yeah, right.
Those words are very, very powerful. I feel the same exact way about you, and we are going to come together, work together, get a lot done in 2024. I
We got
thank
work
you.
to do, Lynn.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it,
New
and
York needs us. I'll tell you that.
and we're going to do it with the warrior spirit, but we're going to throw in a few laughs every once in a while because
Always.
there's still a lot of things, and we're fighting for our beloved New York. I feel so
Yes.
much more empowered just speaking with you. Thank you
Likewise.
for sharing your voice, your expertise,
Thank you.
because you are a warrior. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Likewise. Happy New Year, guys.
Thanks, Vanessa.